Hey y'all, welcome back to Alex Rants. Today we're going to react to a Dave Ramsey video. Over $380,000 in debt and only make $57,000. So this should be an entertaining one. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Maybe listen to like 1.25 speed just to speed up the video. And I'll pause, intermittently to make comments myself. Here we go.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for taking my call.
Sure. How can we help?
So I am new to your show, and a little bit about me. I'm 28 years old. My wife is too. We have a 9-month-old. I am a student working on my doctorate degree, and I have a 9-month-old daughter. So I have about $300,000 in student loans, $40,000 in personal loans, $26,000 in credit card debt.
You're working on what kind of a degree?
A doctorate degree.
In what?
Organizational leadership with a focus in healthcare administration.
With a plan to do what?
Within 5 to 10 years, hopefully be in an executive leadership position, vice president, COO, or CEO.
Why do you need a...
So just right off the bat, probably I got two big things. One, if you ever think it's bad, at least we're not 28 with $70,000 of debt and a 9-month-old without a job, literally no job, $370,000 in debt, a 9-month-old, and you're getting a doctorate's degree. That is, if you ever feel terrible, just remember, at least you're not, no offense to this guy, at least you're not this guy. Number two is, this Chapter 7 bankruptcy, I'm sure Dave will get to it, but, you can't file bankruptcy on student loans, so don't take out a lot of student loans if you don't think there's any way you could pay it back. Honestly, I mean, nowadays the cost of tuition is just so high that you really, really have to make make a much bigger consideration into like whether it's actually worth the money. An MBA nowadays at a top institution is going to cost you $200,000. So, $200,000 with living expense and everything else. I mean, $150,000, $200,000 in student loans to land a job that, let's say, you're going to make $180,000 coming out of. It's kind of tough. I mean, yes, you could put like $50,000 towards it. You'd be done with like 4 or 5 years. But gosh, 4 or 5 years of work, you make zero progress towards really like anything else. That could be tough. But it really depends on your situation, obviously. And then the third point I'd like to make is, he says he wants to be a CEO or some executive in 5 to 10 years. Not that it's unheard of, but obviously it's pretty challenging. I feel like I'd be surprised if this guy's actually worked like in any sort of corporate role, in any sort of capacity at like a big company, because the chances of moving up to CEO in 5 or 10 years or some sort of C-suite executive is pretty low, honestly. Like most of those guys got 20 plus years of experience minimum. And obviously it's not like it's never happened, but why would he be the exception, I guess? But anyways, let's keep watching.
PhD to do that.
It's a little bit more leaning into the healthcare administration side, so I can get a better aspect of that realm.
Okay.
I have about $17,000 remaining on my SUV, and my wife and I together have about $116,000 remaining on our mortgage. Right now, we bring home a total of about $57,000 together after taxes. And so last year, my parents...
Dave's face really says it all right here. I mean, look at his face, his head in his hands.
Advised me to go file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, so I went to an attorney. I've been retained with her since August of last year. However, she's requested that we kind of suspend, or we kind of push back bankruptcy until later this year, like December or early of next year, because she wants to see how the elections turn out and see if maybe with the new party coming in, if she can bankrupt or file Chapter 7 on my student loans. I'm skeptical about that, but it's the only advice I've been given up to this point. So I guess my question to you guys are...
Yeah, so what are you filing bankruptcy on? Your student loans aren't bankrupt. Well, your mortgage isn't bankrupt
Right.
if you keep the house. What are you filing bankruptcy on? A car?
The $40,000 in a personal loan and $26,000 in credit card debt.
Man.
So my question was, should I continue on this path?
There's no better approach to life than when you have 100% of a problem, you solve 10% of the problem, so you can be left with 90% of it, right? Like they try to do this with healthcare all the time. They blame like doctors' pay on they blame doctors' pay. Doctors make too much on like healthcare costs, but pharmaceuticals, medical technology, that's what makes up 90+% of the actual medical expenses. Not to mention all the litigation that exists there. So it's just kind of funny that he's like roughly $380,000 in debt, and he thinks that clearing $60,000 and being left with $320, is going to make anything really better for him. But anyways,
I have to do this. Should I do it sooner, or should I even file Chapter 7 and follow through with a different set of resources or steps to getting?
When do you graduate?
In about 2.5 years.
And you're not working, but your wife is?
We both are working. I work full time as well as being a full time student.
Oh, I see. Okay. But your household income is $57,000.
Yes, I bring home about 38 after taxes, and she brings home 19 after taxes.
And your undergrad is in your undergrad's in what?
My undergraduate is in chemistry.
Okay.
Chemistry and then respiratory care. So I'm a respiratory.
How are you paying for this PhD for the next 2.5 years?
With Fidelity Active ETFs, the potential is in the name. Active.
So unfortunately, I had to take out a student loan on top of what I already owe. So
I mean, if you file bankruptcy, you're not doing that. How are you paying for How are you paying for your PhD?
I haven't filed yet.
I know. I got that.
Oh.
But if you file bankruptcy, you're not getting a student loan.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
I mean, so, all right, I'm trying to figure out where to start.
Yeah, John, you right now, my friend, do you feel the weight of this right now?
I do.
Do you really? Because you said you just recently found us. And so what you're hearing is the wheels turning as we're processing, because you've been sold a fake dream if you think bankruptcy is going to fix it, okay? Because it costs money, and you've already had this attorney on retainer, and they're telling you we're going to wait for the election to find out if, listen to me, student loans are not bankruptable, okay? Those aren't going anywhere. And so I want you to start to look at this and feel it, and not look for the quick fix, but look for the fix.
No, here's the problem.
That's certainly why I'm trying to find other resources, because that made me so skeptical when she said that.
Yeah, I agree.
She was trying to push this back, and so that's why I wanted to find other resources out there, and I found you guys.
That's more of a, I appreciate this. So I've got to figure out a way to get you.
I'm curious to hear David's advice, and obviously, what's Dave going to say? There's nothing he can say. They don't make any money. $400K in debt. I mean, at a 5% interest rate, you're talking $20,000 a year just in interest. Obviously, 26 of that's at probably 26,000 of that's on credit cards. So that right there is probably 20% interest, and then which is that alone's like 4K, 5K, and then you got personal loans probably on 8 to 10%. So these student loans aren't. They might even be higher than 5%. So, anyways, I mean, I don't even know what Dave's going to say here. He's just going to say, like, how do you get your income up? How do we get your shovel to, his classic trope. But let's just listen in here.
You guys to get your income moving sooner than 2.5 years from now, and that's what my holdup here is, because I'm not trying to. The thing is, the debt is always not the problem; it's always the symptom of what's going on. And including when I lost everything, went bankrupt 30 years ago. So I know how scared you guys are, and this is a huge pileup on you guys. And so you have bet the farm on this PhD turning into serious income.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, with $300,000 plus continuing to pile it up. So I'm probably going to start talking to healthcare companies now about working there and letting them pay to help you finish as their continuing ed program, pay to help you finish your PhD, and you go ahead and get your career track started now instead of a $38,000 job. You've got a chemistry degree, you've got the intellect to step into this, you've got a lot of the training to step into this, and let's accelerate the PhD completion and let someone else pay for that. Get that off of you, and then get your income up to begin to address the 300. While you're doing that, you can address the other stuff. You can file 7 if you want to and clean up some of that stuff. But you've got to, in good conscience, you can't continue borrowing if you're not going to pay other people you owe from a moral standpoint. And you've got to stop and address that as well in this. So I can't recommend you that you not pay someone in bankruptcy, and that while you're on the other hand borrowing money on the other out of the other side of your mouth.
Right.
And so that's just inconsistent from an integrity standpoint for me. So I got to put a stop to the bleeding, meaning we got to have a way to complete this PhD without any more debt, and that keeps us A, from having any more debt, and then B, it gives us the leeway to say, okay, can we fight through these other types of debt, or do they need to go into bankruptcy?
Right.
You guys are just under an amazing amount of stress.
And I tell you what, Dave, what I'd like to do, Kelly, get his information. I want him get him connected with one of our financial coaches.
Yeah, you guys are going to have somebody walk
That
with
to
you.
sit down and unpack
And
this.
we'll pay for it.
So I'll just leave it at that. That is an interesting situation. Obviously, I think it's kind of one. I'm like shocked that somebody making, a household that was making $57,000 a year is even able to afford a mortgage. But this was how many years ago was this published? Let me see, 3 years ago. So I guess rates were pretty low. They probably could get a house for 150 to 200K at 3% interest. So maybe. Number two, I would say is I just want to harp on a couple of things that Dave said. Number one, he said debt is always the symptom of an underlying problem. I think that's kind of an important takeaway. When I reflect on my own financial habits and my own spending, anytime I end up in debt, even though my debts are normally pretty minimal, anytime I do end up in, an extra couple $100 that I spent over the course of a month, or like I do a trip that I probably shouldn't have, I take a trip I shouldn't have taken, that I haven't budgeted for, so therefore now I got, $800 on my credit card that I got to pay back. It's always the symptom, that $800, $1,000 is the symptom of a compulsive behavior. My inability to just say no to myself or to my desires or to my wants. And I think finances, it's so behavioral. They say it's 80% behavioral, which I 100% believe, if not more. And honestly, when you think about, when you put it in that frame of mind, you start to realize, like, what behaviors am I making that are hindering my ability to advance and succeed with money, and really try to taper them and be disciplined. Budgeting, I've spoken about budgeting in past videos. That requires a lot of discipline. That requires effort. Saying no to dinner and going home and cooking instead of eating out. That requires discipline and time and investment and things that you don't want to do. And a lot of that's kind of what breeds success, honestly. The second thing I'd like to say is that, Dave said, you're betting the farm on this PhD thing working out. And I just wanted to make a comment on that. It's the last thing I'll say is, when you're young, 26, 27, 28, mid-20s, whatever, early 20s, everybody says, oh, you can take risk. You can take risk because at your age, you can eat the risk and you can recover, which is true. But I think on this other side of that coin is the fact that we have the most valuable thing, which is time, on our side. And if you take a big risk at 25 years old and it takes you 3 years or 4 years to recover from that, that's almost a bigger cost than whatever the actual nominal value that you guys lost on that risk to begin with. Like if I risk 10 grand on something, and now I got to take, or 50 or 20 grand on some endeavor, and I got to take 20 grand over the next, I got to save that 20 grand over the next 2 or 3 years to recover. That loss of time is almost more valuable than the actual $20,000 that I lost. And I think honestly, my approach, after having done financial advising, after having kind of had a somewhat of a volatile experience with my own finances, in 2020, 2021, my investments had skyrocketed. I was making a lot of money. 2022 came, they crashed. I lost some money on NFTs. It's like $5 grand in Bitcoin I lost from this NFT thing. And then I owed some money as well. But and then my car broke down. Then my car, like my lease ended, so then I had to put a down payment on my car. So anyways, a storm kind of brewed in 2022. everything skyrocketed in price, and I had all my assets were devalued. I lost, I don't know what, maybe $20,000 worth of things. And, I'm just now getting back into that, just now recovering from that, basically 2 years later, year and a half later. And that experience has made me feel like the best approach, I think, in our age, like 20s, is just lay a solid foundation. Like, get out of debt, like Ramsey said. Just get out of the consumer debt. I would say, like, buy a home. Pay off your car. Buy a simple car. Don't buy like a Tesla or something, unless, of course, you can afford it. And then lay that foundation. Put money away. Kind of the old school kind of boomer mentality, right? Like, just put 15% away. Save 20 grand in your savings account, and then start saving for a down payment on a home, and start doing kind of all those little right things. And that's gonna propel you going into your 30s, I feel like. Whereas, if you keep being risky with your money, you really only got like 2 or 3 chances with that risk for it to really before it starts to really bite you in the butt. And so I just want to kind of harp on that. You said you're betting the farm on this thing working out. And, when we're young, we have a tendency to just be like, oh yeah, it's 5 grand or it's 10 grand or whatever. Like, we'll make it back. Like, let's just do it. I'll never be this young again, or I'll never have this chance again. And sometimes we can justify irrational behaviors with our age, when really it's not to our best interest. And honestly, being just simple and disciplined and consistent, even if it's not that much, will actually pay off more in the long run than sometimes some of these big risks. You see a lot of friends that lose money on stock options or trading in the market. You see all that with the Wall Street bets. I'll probably react to some of those later. Those are what that's what really sets you back. Taking exorbitant amounts of debt in our age. At our age at 26, 25, now you're in the whole negative 200 grand. I mean, if you could have just gone out into a trade school, made 50K coming out of high school, and done 5 years of just good, solid work, you could probably save, 30, 40 grand or 50 grand, and you'd be plus 50 against another person who's down, 200 or 100 on student loans at 22, So I think a very methodical approach to your initial years, like maybe into our 30s, I think is really valuable. And then I think you follow that up with, once you have the foundation, maybe you have like a paid off house. I think you lay that after you have that foundation laid, that's when I think you can start talking about leverage. And obviously Ramsey's not a big guy or leverage, but that's when I think you can start really leveraging your assets and take on a little bit more risk, because now you have this floor that you've set for yourself, that like your house, you always got a house, you already got your retirements established, you already have money saved. Now I'm willing to take on more risk because I can actually tolerate it. If this doesn't go well, I have so many things to fall back on. So anyways, that's all I wanted to react to today. Hope you all have a good day. I have the vest on, the Finance Pro vest. That's sometimes I feel like I don't even deserve to wear a vest, but it is what it is. Hope you guys have a good day. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys think. Share this video with your friends. If you guys want me to react to more videos, I'll be happy to do it. Thanks.